They referred to it as routine fire prevention, just removing brush to make the neighborhood safe. But 10 minutes later, my $70,000 prize bull was bleeding in the ground, a bullet in his neck. The men who killed him said they were obeying orders. The woman who sent them. Patricia Hensley, the HOA president, smiled like she'd won a war. She didn't know who I was, or that she'd just started a fight that would take down her ring. My name's Caleb Turner, and on that Wednesday, with the sun burning and cedar thick in the air, I became the man who'd make her wish she hadn't crossed my land. I was monitoring irrigation in the north field when the diesel rumble struck too loud, too near. Tires gnawed gravel in a manner no ranch truck would instinct bristled. Not fear, but an alert. I let drop my wrench and ran up the incline boots, kicking dust. By the moment I crested the hill, it was a war zone. A bobcat loader cutting through brush, two men hacking at my fence with weed whackers, and a clipboard carrying wannabe barking orders as if he owned my land. The gate dangled off its hinges, a weak HOA property access sign, zip tied to the wire. My ranch wasn't within their jurisdiction, ever had been. It was private fenced marked, I yelled. The kind of ranchers yell that stops coyotes cold. The men froze. Clipboard guy strode over chewing gum as if he was above it and waved a paper with Patricia mandatory fire safety clearance. He said, grinning with a cheap security patch. I informed him he was trespassing. He laughed. Then came the gun, showed a crack that split the valley. Silence stretched the kind that screams, disaster. I sprinted past the loader and saw it tighten my grand champion bull down, blood pooling from his neck. Two men stood still, one holding a smoking rifle. Titan's enormous frame, jerked eyes bulging, nostrils flaring. I fell beside him, hands useless. He wasn't livestock, a genetic work of art. Calm, a legacy produced over decades, worth more than most houses and cherished. The shooter muttered about self-defense, pleading Titan had charged. But his pin gate was open, unhitched by their mayhem. Titan did not charge. He wandered curious. They shot him anyway. I called the sheriff, photographing the atrocity, the damaged gate, the Titan's corpse sign. The deputy made note, but stated that it required investigation. The team wasn't detained, only gave me a trash bag for the carcass. I stayed fists in tight balls as they drove off. The next morning, I wrecked the HOA meeting. No invitation was required. Patricia sat front pearls, glistening, smiling like she was pouring tea. Not when she realized who it was. Her grin flickered. I slammed a picture of Titan bloodied and lifeless on her desk. The room fell silent. She looked at it, shrugged, and called it regrettable collateral. She accused me of allowing a hazardous creature to roam, praising her staff's aggressive fire preventative measures. I didn't flicker. I observed, counting her lies. What she wasn't aware of was I'd recently become a member of the county's Agricultural Regulatory Board, with authority to scrutinize HOA permits and audit her directives. This was far from over. It was war. I acted quickly. Accuracy ahead of anger. I phoned Ellen, a county assessor I'd known since the 2005 fire recovery. She delivered 28 pages of HOA filings by noon, showing Patricia's 5 unlawful vegetation directives, 2 already in question. My land was no coincidence, and it was her pattern, neighbors complained. Furious. Tom Reynolds reported Patricia's crew cut his fence last spring. Widow Clara lost her rose garden to fire control. I gathered their tales, photos, timestamps, snails in Patricia's coffin. The HOA clause she quoted was 10 years old, intended for abandoned land, not private ranches. I found its writer, Ray Coleman, now based in Nevada. He confirmed Patricia shut down revisions to narrow scope, emailing me previous meeting notes as evidence. I arranged a county oversight meeting, guaranteeing every seat was taken and kept. Titan's death out of the request to prevent bias. Thursday's meeting was charged. I brought a binder drone footage, the forged directive, Ray's emails, Titan's veterinary certificate. Chairwoman Lorraine Sharp, as barbed wire flipped through it silently. When she struck Patricia's signature authorizing access to adjacent land, she grumbled, "She's in trouble." I displayed the gate's forced latch, Titan's serene approach. The workers fired 30 seconds later. Then I played Patricia's HOA meeting audio, teasing my cow hobby. Lorraine's jaw clenched. The committee voted to review Patricia's authority in emergency session and called her before. A hearing within 10 days I departed, sat in my truck, and sensed justice. Brewing quiet, steady, unstoppable. I went to Titan's breeder Hank Larson, a grizzled legend. He lit a cigarette, hands shaking at Titan's pictures, and gave me a box from his freezer. 3 vials of Titan's frozen genetics, insured alive. "They're Titan," he said. I nodded, throat tight. This fight wasn't just for restitution, it was for legacy. Patricia pushed back with an HOA notice declaring Titan's death a safety requirement under a non-existent state mandate. I had the Wildlife Division email confirming her lie, but waited to go public. The hearing would be her downfall. The night before, I patrolled my ranch flashlight in hand, logging snapped fence posts and GPS coordinates. The stillness hummed with incoming thunder. Patricia assumed I was a bereaved rancher who'd crumple. She didn't know I was a policymaker who'd researched land law longer than she'd pretended smiles. The hearing broke cold, the air brisk with intent. I dressed in a clean shirt, no tie, and carried 3 sets of documents. Patricia strutted in heels, clicking portfolio, leaning still, betting charm would get her out. She labeled the event regrettable, stating her crew adhered to guidelines and confused my land for an HOA zone. She avoided questions regarding the workers' expired licenses, holding the contractor at fault. Lorraine insisted, no permission, no notice, no inspection. Why Patricia failed. I took the stand, detailing the drone photo of my walled property. The aged satellite image Patricia abused Klaus's genuine purpose. I produced the clip. The laborer opening up Titan's gate. Titan moving outside. The capture. The room came to quietness. The monitor has no words. Requiem, Patricia's HOA voice record her giggle-sealed fate. The livestock department official by surprise declared Titan involved in a cover protection scheme, turning his loss a breach in state agriloniture law. Patricia's defense failed. She depicted it an oversight, but the room pierced through her. The board suspended her power scheduling criminal review. Her heels rang as she departed, defeated. News erupted. HOA president suspended in bull-killing scandal. Lawsuits stacked up. Hank's my neighbors. The HOA paid portion of my settlement to prevent wider penalties, and Patricia's insurance left her behind. Her name disappeared from newsletters, her supporters silent. The board provided me interim advisor for land use, citing my experience. I accepted, standing in Titan's barn, knowing his death had laid bare a corrupted system. Patricia blotted her face off of a viral photograph selecting roadside refuse wood service. I didn't brag, just purchased fresh fence boards. Hank delivered the vials, and I started to plan Titan's lineage resuscitation. One night I stood near a bronze plate next to an Oak Titan Champion Guardian catalyst. The breeze whispered, carrying his essence. A young bull snorted within the pen. Tall, defiant Titan's offspring, I didn't call him already was. The ranch became verdant children visiting to learn from Titan tales. His snake-defying posture, his serene leadership. Patricia's fall was not heard. It was silent like truth, triumphing over deception. She believed power lay in signatures, I taught her. It lies in standing firm, knowing your